Hello, this video is for students looking for some extra guidance on highlighting the correct information and then transferring those highlights to notes. Again, we're going to be practicing this all year. So if you don't feel totally comfortable doing this, that's fine. We just started doing this, but we're going to be practicing this over and over again. So I thought I would make this video for those that are looking for that extra instruction. Okay, so if you don't already, please get out your textbook, 3.2, page 3, and make sure you have your themes chart open with the copy and pasted social classes that I went over in the other video. I'm going to do that myself here. Okay, I've got my textbook and I've got my themes chart. Now, if you haven't, I wanted you to start on page 2. I said you didn't need to do any highlighting, but if you haven't already read page 2, please do that now. You can pause this video. I'm going to skip ahead to page 3 and just give you a little snippet on that highlighting and notes. So as always, I want to start with the title and the guiding question, the leadership and the elite, and the guiding question, who had power in Mesopotamian society? Religious and political power overlapped in Mesopotamian city-states. The king was powerful politically because Mesopotamians believed the king received his power from the gods. Therefore, the political and religious leadership, meaning the officials and the priest, had a great deal of power. So it's setting us up to show that the people at the top of the pyramid had the most power, which I went over in my little diagram. Now, remember, what we're looking for in highlights is the roles that the king played. What job did he carry out as king? So that's what we're going to be looking for when we're highlighting. The king and government officials. Now, this section puts the king and the government officials in the same section. We're just focusing on the king at this point. Since the king's power was believed to come from the gods, he was the head of the Mesopotamian society. The king had many responsibilities. So this is going to be the one that has the most responsibilities, the biggest job here. The king was in charge of organizing the labor needed to build and maintain ziggurats and other important buildings. Ziggurats are these religious temples that we haven't really gone over yet, but we will. So right off the bat, what's he in charge of? Organizing labor needed to build and maintain ziggurats and other important buildings. So I'm highlighting that. When I let go, it's going to give me the option to highlight. Doesn't matter what color. Let's use green today. These huge projects spanned many years. Then, when each building was complete, the king, along with the priests, was responsible for overseeing religious ceremonies and making offerings to the god to ensure their favor. So there's another responsibility right there. The king, along with the priests, was responsible for overseeing religious ceremonies. Okay, so they were leading these religious ceremonies. Cool. Moving on. The king was not only responsible for the spiritual lives of the people, but he was also in charge of their physical safety. To provide for people's physical safety, he made laws, collected taxes, and established and led the army to protect the people from enemies. There we go, right there. Okay, so he made laws. He collected taxes. And he led the army. Again, I could add a little bit extra there, established, but I want to get to the point really quickly. The next paragraph is about the king's officials. That's not what we're focusing on. We're just focusing on the king. Okay, so we have highlighted all the king's responsibilities, and now we need to transfer these highlights to our notes and put them in a concise form. So I'm going to take you through that now. If you need some time to get caught up on these highlights, pause the video and get yourself caught up. So I've got my tech book open and I've got my themes chart. I want to make it so that I can see both of those at the same time. They're on different tabs right now. So that in order to do that, I'm going to grab this tab by holding down my cursor and pulling it out of the batch. Then I'm going to hit this restore down button, and that's going to make the text smaller, and so that we can see two screens at the same time. I'm going to do the same thing for my themes chart. I'm going to pull it out and I'm going to restore it down. And now, nope, restore it down. Sometimes it's a little finicky, so you got to be patient with it. So now I've got my tech book and my themes chart that I can flip back and forth to, which is going to be really helpful when I'm making my notes. So I'm just going to go down the line and look and see what I highlighted and then jot that down in my notes. The king organized the labor needed to build and maintain ziggurats and other important buildings. Well, I'm going to consolidate that into as little words as possible. So I'm over here with king, and I'm going to write organized construction projects. Okay, that's the main idea. Yeah, there were ziggurats and other important buildings, but that's a detail. The big idea is that he organized construction projects. What buildings are being built. So I'm going to hit comma and go to the next one. What was the next highlight? Overseeing religious ceremonies. Okay, so he oversaw religious ceremonies. Cool. Comma. Next, few things. Made laws, collected taxes, led the army. Great, let's jot that down. Made laws, comma, collected taxes, comma, led army. Cool. And that's it. That's all we're doing with this section. We're reading, we're looking for their responsibilities, we're highlighting their responsibilities, and then we're jotting those notes down using as little words as possible. You'll notice that these are all incomplete thoughts. We know that these are all responsibilities the king had, and if we need to do some formal writing, we would make these into formal sentences and maybe paragraphs. But for now, we're just trying to get to that main idea. Now, I will say, and you can pause this anytime if you need to jot this stuff down. I will say that the king had the most responsibilities for the rest of these. They're not as they don't have as many responsibilities. So we just did the hardest one with the most information. Okay, let me know if you have any questions, but that is the task at hand. You should fill out all of these responsibilities for all the different social classes, and you're going to find that on page 3 and 4 of 2.3 in the textbook. Have fun.